Hello everyone, my name is Juan. Here we will talk about big data. What is big data? And what is big data and data mining, and how they are connected to each other. So let's go to the introduction. First of all, what are the interesting facts of the big data? Uh, to have a basic and structure of big data, what happens in our daily lives. The volume of a business worldwide across companies doubles every 1.2 years. Um, becomes like before it was like 1.5 years for a company to do as something like deal with the data. Um, and also daily 2,500 quadrillion of data are produced, and more than our 90% of the data are produced within past 2 years. A regular person processing daily more data than 16th century individual in his entire life. And also we have Facebook. It has processed 10 terabytes of data every day, and Twitter like about 7 terabytes. Google has over 3 million server processing over 2 trillion searches per year in 2012. Like with only 22 million in 2000, before. So every day data keep uh, goes more and keep growing. What should we do with these data and how to deal with them? So what is big data? Big data is used to describe for these structures and unstructured um, data. A volume, a big large volume of data is defaulted to processes using traditional database. Just using traditional database is not working like before. So this is how to deal it with big data and how to solve it with big data. Big data is the fortuner of firms' ability to store, process, and access all the data it needs to operate effectively, make decisions, reduce risks, and serves the customer. Big data is not about only size of the data; it's about the value, the 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 these data we are collecting. Um, right, it's big amount of data and massive amount of data, but it's not like we have a big size of data that we should just um, should be a big data. No, we after we are processing and after we are reducing these data for and finding a meaningful data that we can use it and delete all these data are doubled and so we have these factors of big data that should deals with. Um, Before we had three V's to deal with, and then they are growth to four V's, and after 2014, it's been upgraded to four V's, so that it's called a big data to deal with. First one is a volume, which it's the amount of the data we are dealing with, and variety, different, the format of the data we are getting from the source, which type of data we have, and value. It should be meaningful data, so we can extract it. So velocity high, which is the speed, the amount of speed of data, and then veracity, which is in consciousness, and uncertainty in the data. So, what are the challenges in the big data and the data mining? So, the challenges is we should um, handle big data with techniques and tools and architectures. Um, it's important, to have these techniques to deal with the data, and we should have tools for it, so we know how to analyze the data, and we should have architecture. And we have a couple of, you know, theorems and methods to deal with these, and one of them, which is Hayes theorem. So the challenges is the location of big data source. Commonly, big data are stored in different locations. Volume of big data, size of the big data that are growing continuously. Hardware resources, RAM capacity is a big challenge of big data. That we need uh, more hardware, more uh, RAM for the speed, uh, and analyzing these data and deal with them. And privacy, uh, like for medical records, bank transaction, all these have privacy. Having domain knowledge, getting meaningful information. So the solution, it is parallel computing programming, and an efficient platform for computing will not have centralized data storage. Instead of their platform will be distributed in big scale storage, restricting access to the data, and new tools like Hadoop, Flume, Stoop, um, and each other. So here are the some of the tools of the big data to deal with a big amount of data, uh, like Hadoop, Apache S4, Storm, Apache, and MOA. So, for example, let's take one of the tools and talk about it, which is Hadoop. Is just a picture shows like how the Hadoop enters in the data set, and then split these datas, and then mapping them, and then after that shuffle it, and see the type of the format of the data that it deals with, and then to see this data is audio, is data is video, uh, like this, and then reduce these data by the value in the meaningful data, and then here it goes at last the output, which is produced big amount of data, but we still have a good data to deal with. So how does the algorithm works in big data? First of all, it gathers all distributed data to the centralized side, and then it patterns them from combining variety of sources, and then it processes the global data by model and knowledge, then calculate the data statistic and uh, shares this information, and then in the model level it will produce local pattern, and then it produce a single global pattern. At last, a knowledge level determines how data sources are correlated to each other, form an accurate decision based on model. These steps that the algorithm goes with, most of it, and how it deals with data. So we have some application of the big data. Uh, it's used in communication and medical and industrial vehicles and retail. For example, like communication by 2020, each person will own an average of 7 connected devices for medical, um, as a secondary source of data, you know, and then industrial project will increase its connected machine to machine device over the next 5 years. And for vehicles, 23.6 million cars having internet access by 2016, rising from 8.7 million in 2010. And for retail, companies are using Internet of Things devices to manage their sales and customer equations. And here we have churn, which is about dealing with the risk of customer to churn to another, um, which is using a big data telecom companies. It can now better predict customer churn, which is mean here like to see which customer which is still loyal to the company, are gives them services, and which are not. And so the most important is to keep uh, deal with the customer so friendly, and uh, see the patterns they are going on with, and study it and get the knowledge from it, and then gives them the services they wanted. Um, so here is the topic of big data, that how to deal with the big data and what is big data really. And it is important because data mining, we have a lot of data to deal with, and big data is one of the big solution for data mining to after collect them these data. Thank you for listening. I hope it's useful to listen to.